Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we are going to be discussing 5 chapters of Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. We read chapters 62 through 66, wherein Kaladin gets a visit from Dalinar in prison, and it goes even worse than you might imagine in some ways. Shallan gets a new job from the Ghost Bloods, and, over a couple chapters manages to pull it off pretty well. We get another Shallan flashback, which continues to just follow the formula of Shallan's life sucked, which is a fun reversal of last time, where the flashbacks were actually usually not too bad for Kaladin. It was the present day that was really shitty. And then at the end, in chapter 66, Kaladin gets out. I almost said escapes prison. Kaladin gets out of prison. He doesn't have to escape. They let him out. And then things happen that some people on the show might be really upset about, but we'll get there. I'm Data, and with me today is
Jamie,
Joe, and Dak.
Yay, Dak's back. Everyone's excited.
I'm back to drag down the curve.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin. So yeah, 5 whole chapters this time. Lots of stuff going on. What did you guys think of these 5 chapters?
Yeah, so a lot of things happening. Our masked friend has a name now, so that's cool. I'm still a bit confused over how their organization works when she's saying, no, Maireys is like my student. Oh, okay. Interesting, but that's cool. We can look at that later. Kaladin, bit worried about our boy Kaladin. Far out. There's definitely some thoughts, and I guess I can see why he's going back into the darkness. He's definitely had some stuff happen to him in his time, and then being thrown in a prison cell and told to wait there for 3 weeks as his duty. That can really mess you up, I guess. But even the way Syl's acting and reacting to him and his dark thoughts is a bit scary. And then to see how that actually comes out later, he's like, no, I thought about it, and maybe you're going to side with Moash. Like, it's not entirely siding with Moash, but it's definitely scary to watch that unfold. But he seems to have a new buddy in Adolin, which is kind of cool. That's the dedication to lock yourself up for 3 weeks while your pals doesn't really know that you're his friend in there as well. So I'm sort of keen to see where their friendship goes. It gave me very much vibes of, Hermione was not really part of the group in Harry Potter, and then the troll was in the dungeon, and all of a sudden they're the best friends that anyone could have. It's like, yeah, okay, the troll was in the dungeon, and now we're best buds forever. So that would be interesting. Shallan's flashbacks, I'm getting more and more convinced that we're close to finding out what the hell happened with Shallan and her father. He's a complete tosspot and needs to be removed. So I think everyone's in agreement there. Amaram, yeah, this guy's not doing anything to endear himself to anybody either.
Nope.
He's certainly got his own agenda, which is a bit terrifying given who they've got in with the Ardents. What is that even called? It's not like a monastery. Is it a monastery?
I think it might have been a monastery. Yeah, and we'll get there, I guess, and we can be reminded. But I feel like it's something like that.
Yeah. So you can start seeing some threads coming together. Syl's picking up that there's another spren or a cryptic, which she's not super happy about. So there's going to be a friend there. We've got a couple of people who are now involved in the Ghost Bloods. You've got Adolin being friends with Kaladin. There's some interesting times ahead, I think.
Yeah, I love the comparison to like Hermione and Ron and Harry. So you're like the troll in the dungeon, and I was like, well, I guess they were both kind of locked up in a dungeon, but I guess the troll in the dungeon in this case would be the duel. But it's
yeah. I mean, it's not exactly a like for like situation, but it's like they've emerged out the other side, and it's like, what do you mean we're not friends before? Like, and whether it stays that way, I don't know. But I would like these two. It's nice that they found a bit of common ground, and while they're still able to tease each other about being spoilt and bridge boy and all that sort of stuff, they had smiles on their faces. And the difference in the conversation with like, dude, I just gave you shards. Like, what are you doing? This can mean everything for you. I'm trying to do this for you. And then that conversation to not end with, well, stuff you, these are your shards, deal with it. Like, he still respected Kaladin's wish enough. He doesn't understand it, but he's respected it. So, like, Adolin, you're growing on me. I never really disliked you, but you're growing on me.
Yeah. I feel like that moment of realizing that he spent that entire time in prison also just like out of solidarity with Kaladin. If he wasn't already growing on you, I feel like that's a moment where you're like, oh, okay, this is not a bad guy.
Yeah, for sure. Also, did Shallan know he was in prison?
I'm pretty sure she must have.
She must have.
Yeah.
So come and visit me. And she said, no, I'm a bit busy.
No time to go to prison now, sorry.
No, I can't fit that into my busy schedule.
Wasn't Adolin talking to her via span reed while he was in jail?
Yeah.
He must have been, but he didn't say he was in jail.
Yeah.
So, like,
No,
yeah.
I think it just must have been understood. They probably already had that conversation.
I'm sure they did. I wouldn't be like Brandon to leave something out. Make us figure it out later.
Oh, roasted.
Boom. Oh, man.
Yeah, these chapters, there was a lot of little things here and there, but then some big things as well. So I always like getting some subtle hints and some big things. I was trying to like figure out if Eatil was a name we should know. I don't think it is. Data can obviously correct me if I'm wrong about that, but it's not a name that I recognized offhand with our masked friend now. I guess she's our friend now. We were scared of her before, but now she's our friend, so that's good. And I'm excited to see where that plot line goes, really. I'm disappointed in Kaladin. I think we all are a little bit with his decision at the end of the section that we read. Definitely not what I would have done with the shards. Like if somebody had gifted them to me and I didn't want them, Moash is probably not the person I would give them to. But it's Kaladin's decision to make, obviously. And yeah, the Adolin becoming friends and locking himself up, it does seem a little silly, especially since Kaladin didn't know he was doing it. But I guess like also it means more. It's like, oh, I didn't even know you were doing that. You did that for me. That's awesome. So that was a nice little moment. And so maybe my theory from a while back that they're going to become besties, it's possible that it could happen. This is setting some nice groundwork for that at least. So we've got maybe that to look forward to. So that'd be pretty cool. And I was thinking when we got to the part where it said that he was in prison, but earlier he was talking to her by span reed. I was like, so did he like send for some Ardent to come into the jail cell with him so that he could communicate with her via span reed? Because again, that doesn't seem like he's all that locked up. If he's allowed to communicate with people outside, it seems like a lot less of a punishment than Kaladin was given. So little strange.
Maybe that's his one phone call.
Yeah, maybe. But I was still like, I don't know. That doesn't seem like much of a punishment.
It's like the whole time the door to his cell has been open. He's free to go. He's just choosing to live in there.
Yeah.
Like, this is ridiculous.
I think the most disappointing thing about Kaladin making the decision he's made is like he's been doing his duty all this time, and now like his main duty, which maybe they took him off the King's Guard at this point after going to jail, and he's just Dalinar's guard now, Dalinar's family's guard, but like he's now abandoning that main duty. I don't know. It doesn't seem quite right to me. Obviously, I feel like we're probably supposed to feel that way, but like torn about the decision. And if I was Kaladin, I would have straight up told Dalinar, like, yeah, that guy you sent, he's the reason my brother's dead. He's the reason I became a slave. Like, everything in my life was because of what Elhokar did and where you sent that guy. But he didn't say that. So, but yeah, we're about a little over 70% of the way through the book at this point. So like stuff is going to start happening soon, right? Like there's going to be some quick decisions and quick actions coming soon, like a climax, I feel like. So I'm prepared to like get into that. But so far it's good. I like this section a lot and ready to read the rest.
Yeah, I mean, we just came out of a big action beat at the end of the last section, but there's definitely the whole book has kind of been building towards something, and Jamie's been kind of, I think, on top of it the most, calling out like the days that are left until whatever happens. but it does feel like a build towards a thing. But also, I like the note about so Arden's just hanging out in there with him. He's not super in jail if he's
No.
but
He's taking baths, but just with cold showers. Like, the dude's not. It's not a situation where he's really locked up.
Maybe Light Eye's jail is always like that. They just have it better than the Dark Eyes.
I don't know about that. And he can literally just walk out whenever he wants. Like, he has that in the back of his head, right? Like, in the back of his pocket. He's just like, I could just leave.
It's true.
I wonder if Wit went to visit him.
Oh, that's a good question.
Like, did he have song time with Wit as well? That would be a punishment for Adolin. Adolin would hate that.
That's true. I wonder if it's as much fun with Adolin though, since as Joe pointed out, like he has that he can just get up and leave if he wants, so he's not stuck there as much as Kaladin was. Maybe that's less fun for Wit.
Maybe. But yeah, no. It's been a while. I've had a lot of catching up to do. There was a big chunk of stuff that I missed. Okay, well, just to recap all the stuff we missed. All the stuff I missed, sorry. The Lift interlude was a lot of fun. Lift started out really grating on me, but by the end I sort of came around on her. Like, enjoyed her as a character eventually. But it took a bit to get there. And I don't know, there are a few times like she just reminded me uncomfortably a bit too much of Wayne and the things I didn't like about Wayne. Like, specifically like when
I said the same thing.
Did
yes, you? Jamie also was like, if she had a hat, this would be Wayne.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I get you there, Dak. Yep.
Yeah, just the way she approached some things is like Wendell, what was his name?
Wendell, yeah.
Yeah, just like, I'm not a Voidbringer, I'm a Spren. Shut up, Voidbringer. Like, that's Wayne, just deliberately being like not listening to what you're told. But yeah, and scary guy chasing her. That's like scary to see him again. I'm not looking forward to seeing him turn up because I'm certain he will at some point. He's gonna. Like, he seems to be targeting people who have Sprens, so I don't think that bodes well for our guys. And if Shallan is a murderer, she killed her dad, so maybe he'll come for her. Seth chapter, man, poor Seth. His whole life is a lie, and he's just a mass murderer, and he doesn't want to kill people. Like, I really feel for the guy.
Yeah.
I think he's going off to kill Taravangian, which I'm all for at this point. Like, if someone forced me to murder like hundreds of people, I'd probably have a bone to pick with them too.
Fair.
Eshonai, poor Eshonai, she's just going through it, and this is really not boding well for what's going on at the Shattered Plains. The Wit story with Kaladin was kind of fun. I think I preferred the one from the first book, but this was still pretty cool. Don't really know how to interpret it. Okay, and then that brings us to the stuff for this week. So, Dalinar and Kaladin chapter. I feel like Dalinar was saying things I have thought myself about this whole situation, specifically in relation to Elhokar. So I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm all in on Dalinar at this point. Kaladin, just listen, do as you're told. I liked Shallan meeting with Eatil, Masky Girl, Eatil.
Yeah, however you want to say it. I've always said Eatil, but I don't know.
Eatil. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that was really cool, especially because she spent this whole time being this really stoic and terrifying individual, and then Shallan's like, "Get help, please! My sister is sick." And you just hear her groan from inside the carriage, and it's like, "Oh, you got suckered, girl."
As soon as you said get help, I went straight back to that scene in Ragnarok when it's like, we're not doing get help.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That had never occurred to me, but it absolutely is like that.
Yep. And nice to see Talon again. Talon and so on. Nice to see what he's doing. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot, but yeah, Amaram's still after him, which Amaram's after him, which doesn't bode well because I really think anything Amaram is bad at this point. Just on the basis that Amaram's trying to bring back the Voidbringers. From the Eshonai chapter, we can see how that's going, and it doesn't seem like it's boding well for anyone, so...
Yeah.
Least of all Eshonai. So, yeah, not thrilled. Shallan flashback, bleak as always. I really feel for I was feeling for the stepmother up until the end when she says, like, maybe he'll just hate you, the one who actually deserves it. I'm like, okay, I need to know what's going on. One, what do you know? Like, what were you told and what actually happened? Because that's a hell of a thing to throw at someone. So, yes.
I feel like I always took that as more like in the chapter or the previous flashback, she talks about like if she does something wrong, her dad beats other people instead of her.
Yeah,
And
but
so,
why
like, that's how I
specifically
took
is
it.
she the one who deserves it?
I mean, because she's the one who does the things that are wrong, that makes her dad hit people. At least that's how I read
mean,
it.
Sure, but there's also the fact that like the other brothers get punished and like punished for the gambling or like the doing
True.
other stuff wrong, and like they still cop their punishment. So is she saying like they don't deserve the punishment even though they are still clearly doing something wrong there? Like they don't deserve the extent of the punishment, but they definitely need to be told to stop gambling the family fortune away.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's more to it than that. There's something about that really struck a chord with me. I'm like, I don't know what this means.
Okay.
But we'll have to get more
Wasn't
flashbacks to
Shallan's-
find out.
So wasn't Shallan's dad the last outburst against his wife was because of what Shallan did or said?
No, I think it was actually because she overhears him talking about like sending the guy to murder his son, and she's like, "Really?"
Yeah.
And that's what happened to her.
No, that's right.
Most recent
She
time.
definitely did that. Yeah.
After that happened, I'm just like, man, like this is like a nice like stepmother figure, which I think there are more of like good stepmothers in fiction now, but the evil stepmother was definitely a trope for a while.
Right.
So it's nice to see that. I enjoy any time seeing that turned on its head. And then she threw that Shallan. I'm like, okay, there's layers to this. And then yeah, finally at the end, Adolin and Kaladin become buds, which I'm happy for. Like I too am just like first book. Adolin was just kind of there and kind of annoying. This book, for many reasons, I've really come around on him, and I like Adolin. He's great. He's not perfect, but he's probably one of my favorite characters out of this series now. So that's cool. And then he gives the shards, and yeah, the thing that struck me from that, aside from what I'll get to in a second, was that Kaladin said, "No, I can't have this," and Adolin just went, "Okay, sure, no worries, I trust you." I'm like. Like, yeah, it's a huge sign of status and culture, and yes, Adolin was shocked, but he accepted it. He didn't think he didn't blink twice. He's just gone, okay, look, if that's the way you feel, then whatever, man, we'll do that. And then he fucking gave him to Moash.
You brought up a good point, Dak, that I forgot to mention is that like Kaladin also tells Adolin about Amaram. And Amaram's or Adolin's just like, okay, yeah, no, I believe that.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, again, Adolin's just like, all right, I need to know more before I can like fully agree with you, but I believe you when you say there is something there. And I think that was something Dalinar said as well. It's like you clearly believe this about Amaram, even though I found no evidence of it. So it's like I feel like Dalinar hasn't completely written it off yet, but he's looked for proof, found none. So he's kind of just like all right, whatever. But Adolin is 100%. It's like, no, you've said that. I trust your word. We need to find out more, but I will work with you on this. So that's big of Adolin. As far as the shards go, my immediate thought was when I give them to Moash. I'm like, Teft is right there. And look, I know they've said Moash is probably the better fighter among the rest, but Teft is your drill sergeant. Having someone bedecked in shard plate and with a shard blade leading your troops is probably the best thing you could have done here. Not the guy with a history of regicide or attempted regicide, but even taking that out of the equation, I'm just like, what benefit does giving it to Moash do? Angry talkback, doesn't obey orders guy. You give that shit to Teft. Like, Teft deserves better. Justice for Teft.
Justice for Teft. Oh, I'm trying to imagine. I almost want to say, like, if you're picking somebody, give it to Rock, but Rock won't fight, so that wouldn't be a good idea. It would. I still just like the idea of this giant Horn-Eater guy made even bigger by this big armor and the giant sword. But yeah, he wouldn't fight. That wouldn't be fun.
Yeah, so that would have definitely turned Adolin off. It's like, okay, you don't have to accept the shard plate if you don't want to, but I'm not giving it to the guy who's going to use the blade to chop up carrots.
Well, now I'm just imagining everybody. What if Lopin got it?
What'd that do for his arm, I wonder?
Probably not much, honestly, but
yeah.
That's or Earless Jax is dead, right? You give it to Earless Jax.
Yeah, he's dead.
If he wasn't dead, yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
That's what you do is you give it to Lopin and then you can give the arm to somebody else.
There, you got two people with some armor at that point. Yeah. Yeah, Kaladin, how would you feel about just wearing it's almost like a shield. It's just on one arm. Might be too heavy.
He kind of did it in the last duel. He had the helmet
That's
on his
true,
fist.
with just on his hand, yeah.
Yeah.
I like what you said about Lift, to go all the way back to that, because I told them, so I won't recount it too much, but Lift is a very divisive character in the fandom. Some people are just,
I can see why.
she drives them crazy, and some people love her. So I can totally see that you're like, it starts out, and then you're like, okay, she's okay by the end of it.
Well, the thing that turned it around was when she revived Gorky. Was that his name? Gorks. She took the time out to revive him, and Wendell was just like, "Why do you care?" And she's like, "Someone has to." I'm like,
Somebody has to.
"Okay, all right, yeah." Like nice and simple, but there's a lot of weight behind that sentence.
Yep.
Of 3 words. So I was like, "Yep, all right, cool. I'm in on you now." Also, I just really liked her greased up powers where she's sliding around the place.
It is amusing to watch.
Yeah.
Also, I like how everyone has kind of turned around a bit on Adolin, which I think it's probably an experience a lot of people have. But in the first book, when nobody, I don't know that anybody hated Adolin, but nobody was a real fan of Adolin, and we like to make fun of his misadventures with women. And so many people in the Discord and in emails are just like, "No, I love Adolin. Why are they so mean to him?" And I think maybe people forget that they probably
he's kind of a prat in the first book. Like you don't really and you don't really see his endearing qualities until the end of the first book, the beginning of this one. So
yeah, he grows on you. I think most people probably had the same experience. Some of them have maybe forgotten.
Yeah, it's like when you read all 4 books, well, soon to be 5 books, in one big chunk, it's very easy to forget. You know, like in the first The Song of Ice and Fire book, I hated Sansa Stark, but book 2 and book 3 really turned me around on her. So
see, I only read the first 2 and I still don't like her. So I assume that she must have gotten better somewhere along the way in 3.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, before we get distracted down the Game of Thrones trail, let's get into these chapters. So the first one, 62, The One Who Killed Promises, is a very prosaic name, but once you read it, you're like, oh, okay, now I get that. I will start out with, and Dak, you probably picked up on the same thing, but Jamie and Joe are pretty certain that this is what we're getting as epigraphs is a letter in response to the letter from the previous book.
Oh, yes, I did get that. I think it was the names thing. It's like, are you using your old mentor's name? I'm like, oh, that's right. Hoyd's not his name because Preservation called him Sephiroth or something.
Sephandrius, I believe.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah. Sephiroth, I like it. So our epigraph here, I feel like to get the proper context for this, we actually have to go back to the previous epigraph that we saw. In the previous epigraph, talks, have you given up the gemstone? Do you not use the name of your old master? I'm told that in your current incarnation, you've taken a name that references what you presume to be one of your virtues, which leads into this one, which says, this is, I suspect, a little like a skunk naming itself for its stench. So Joe pointed out that easily wit might be considered a virtue, and so maybe that's what we're referring to here.
Yeah, that's got to be it.
Also, burn.
Yeah, seriously, right? But we cut to Kaladin, where we start with Kaladin. He's in his cell. He's not liking being in his cell. It's not fun. And
Hell sucks. Who'd have thunk it?
Even worse, like they take the spheres away at night, and the darkness just makes it like 10 times worse for him. At some point, he's thinking, like, is this what happened to Moash's grandparents? Just locked away in prison until they died? Like, am I going to die here? And this, after he's been here, I don't know. I don't think we have any idea how long at this point he's been in here. But this is when Sel's like, oh, by the way, I think there was a cryptic at the fight, I think. And he's like, oh, yeah, you mentioned them before, like a type of Spren. And she goes, a revolting type. But not evil, I don't think. Cryptics like to plan. They debate and watch and never do anything. But they're looking for someone. I've seen the signs. Soon you might not be alone, Kaladin.
Oh man, she doesn't even know he's already not alone. Also, Pattern knows a lot of stuff.
It's true. Pattern is very helpful. And I don't know that we've seen him be big on planning. So he's big on patterns.
He's still young. He's trying to get a word in edgewise around Shallan. So
fair.
But he's like, you could see when Shallan in a couple of chapters needs to find her target, and he's like, oh, I've already done it. Like, I've already gone, looked ahead, and so it's planning in maybe a different sense.
Fair. Syl also says they watch, and we know Pattern has been slipping around watching a lot of people, watching Sabariel in the bath and things.
Yeah.
And I love Kaladin thinking like, oh crap, what if a Spren chooses Adolin and he's another Night Radiant with me? Which, given what we see in a little bit, you're like, okay, well that was kind of mean, Kaladin. And at the same time, he's like, okay, I guess even if it does turn out to be Adolin, it'll make me feel better not to be alone. And then he hears something. And we're told only Light Eyes could visit him, though so far none had unless you counted Wit. So I guess it's just like, if you're Light Eyes, you're allowed to visit.
I was so hoping Amaram would come in to see him. And
what would Amaram say?
just, have that conversation on the other side of the bars.
Yeah, he's going to keep
He's
them
just
bars
like,
between them.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, just be cool, man. He's like, what do you mean?
Be cool.
Be cool. Don't blow up my spot, man. Like, come on, be cool. What do you want, money?
Tell me to be cool. I am cool. Sorry, now you got me thinking about the movie Be Cool.
That is a movie. It's a movie about the movie business. Wait, no, about the music business.
About
Get
the music
Shorty's
business,
about
that's
the
right.
movie business. Be Cool's about the music business.
Yeah, you're right. Get Shorty's definitely the better of the two. But anyway.
Yeah, but Get Shorty doesn't have The Rock in it.
That's true. The Rock is quite entertaining in that movie. So's Vince Vaughn, for that matter. They're both great. Okay. Anyway, back to this book. That's not a movie and does not have Vince Vaughn or The Rock. Although, what if The Rock played Rock?
I hate it.
I need to warn you, Dak has feelings about The Rock, and they're not good feelings.
Most of them are not positive.
I don't think The Rock fits for playing Rock. You need I feel like maybe Dave Bautista could do it, or
I could see that,
or maybe the dude that played the Mountain on Game of Thrones. I don't know.
Yeah, he could do it.
Can Vince Vaughn be in a movie about this book? Who does Vince Vaughn get to?
El Hokar? No, I'm just kidding.
Interesting.
No, that was a joke. He can if he put on some pounds, he could be Sidious. I bet he could pull off menacing.
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay.
I was gonna say Vince Vaughn for Earless Jacks. Let's go.
So random. I like it. Let's do that. Okay. So Dalinar has come to visit Kaladin, and Kaladin just instinctively stands up and salutes, and then he thinks why am I doing this? This guy put me in jail. And Dalinar on the other hand, she's at ease and nods yes, this is correct. And he tries to calm Kaladin down a bit, hey, if I ordered you to guard a room for a week, would you have done that? He's yes. Well, okay, then just consider that your duty. You're guarding this room. Elhokar's coming around. He's finished cooling off, and now he's just worried that if he releases you too quickly, it'll make him look weak. So give me a few more days, and we'll get a formal pardon for your crime, reinstatement to your position. It'll all be good. And Kaladin's just well, I don't really see that I have a choice, so okay. And Dalinar's you and your men are being well cared for. 2 of your bridgemen guard the way into the building at all times, which I like that. These are the guys in charge of guarding Dalinar and the king, and Kaladin also gets a guard of them. That's some status right there.
That was probably also just a conciliatory thing to make sure these guys didn't just outright rebel.
Probably, yeah. That's the thing is their boss you might be, but you don't want to piss off the guys in charge of guarding you at all times. If you make them your enemy, it's not going to go well.
Yeah. I imagine Dalinar went and had dinner with Teft and Moash and Rock just to try and say, all right, you guys are the leaders here, so I'm going to tell you what the current plan is. You don't spread this around, but just we've got this in hand. You keep the guys calm, okay? What's in this stew? Nothing.
And we even see Teft when he gets out here in a bit. It's hey, you know what? This happens. I kept them all in line. It's all good.
Yeah.
And then Kaladin can't help himself but say something that he probably shouldn't say. He's I'm just not convinced the king's going to let me go. He has a history of letting inconvenient people rot in dungeons until they die. And Dalinar doesn't even flinch. She's just oh, you're talking about those silversmiths in Kholinar. And Kaladin's just oh, so he does know.
I was surprised by that. Just to wow, he just knew straight away who he was referring to. That was surprising to me.
Which also tells me the history consists of those people. It's one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out. It's if you instantly know who he's talking about, then there's not another this isn't something that happened regularly. So that's a little bit of a plus. Not that letting old people rot in prison until they die without trial even once is a good thing.
Yeah, but it wasn't I think we'd sort of assumed from what we've been told. It's did Elhokar just make a habit of doing this to people? Did he just let himself be manipulated and doing it all the time? No, it was a one-off. Still not great, but better than doing it consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as we learn later, he tried to take action, but also was very aware of the consequences of those actions. And then Kaladin knows firsthand the crap that happened because more action couldn't be taken. It was a really shitty situation, whichever way they cut it. Yeah, Moash's grandparents didn't need to die. That's awful. But it's not Elhokar just went, oh, well, and moved on.
And Dalinar says, look, what happened to those people was a mistake, soldier. I'll admit it freely. The same's not going to happen here. And then when Kaladin tries to pry, he says, I would really rather not speak of the Rashon affair. Which I don't know about you guys, but that blindsided me completely the first time through. Like, wait, what?
Through me. I'm like, oh God, as if we need another reason to hate that douche.
Yeah.
It did make something click for me. It's like the entire time that we've been talking about this situation with Moash's grandparents and even Moash himself saying it, all the blame always got leveled at Elhokar. I'm like, what? And once Rashon's name got mentioned, it's like, why did we never bring him up? Why did Moash never bring him up? The guy who actually convinced Elhokar to do it. Why is no one focused on him? Oh, okay, it's this arsehole because we already hate him anyway.
Yeah, we don't need to hate him anymore.
Yeah.
But Kaladin's like, I need you to talk to me about this, especially after he hears that name Rashon. He's like, I have to know. And Dalinar's like, okay, fine. I owe you this, but don't spread it around. So this Rashon guy, he was a petty man. He got Elhokar's ear. Elhokar was the prince, ruling while his father and I were away at the Shattered Plains. Although actually what he says is he was ruling the kingdom while his father organized our camps here in the Shattered Plains. I was away at the time, which is an interesting little difference there. Where were you, Dalinar? Yeah. Don't blame Elhokar. He was taking the advice of someone he trusted, but Rashon was just out for himself. When I came back, I cleared it up. I saw Rashon exiled. Elhokar moved him to a place he couldn't do any more harm, which, yeah, no more harm at all.
To be fair.
Just ruin my entire life and all the people I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, Dalinar has no way of knowing that.
No. But which is why I was like, Kaladin should have just said that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that guy you sent, he came to my home village and destroyed my entire family.
Yeah.
And Kaladin says that he finds it troubling that a guy like that could get away with that sort of thing and not have to go to prison. And Dalinar says, well, it was complicated. Rashon was one of High Prince Sadeas' sworn liegemen, cousin to important men whose support we needed. Hey, we know who his cousin is. And it's funny that Dalinar chooses not to mention specifically who he's cousin to in this situation, because that's not going to help anything.
Even though Kaladin knows.
Yeah.
He knows who his cousin is.
But Dalinar doesn't know that Kaladin knows. And Dalinar is like, bringing Amaram up right now is going to be the worst thing to do. So let's just skate right past that.
Yeah, let's just avoid mentioning that name. I've seen what that name does to this guy.
Yeah. And Kaladin's like, yeah, it's funny how often mercy ends up going to powerful light eyes and rarely someone lowly. And like Dalinar, he's had enough of this at this point. He's like, do you think I've been unfair to you or your men? You guys are in a unique position. You spend every day around the king. You see the man and not like the idea of the king. So you guys have to be extra lenient because a man's going to have flaws and you're going to see that more than anybody. And then Dalinar's like, do you know why I put you in this position? And he's like, well, you said because you know I wouldn't be a spy for Sadeas. And he's like, yeah, that's the reason that I can, the rationale that I can use to justify it, but it's not the reason. I did it because it felt right. That I felt like you were someone who could help change this kingdom.
I really thought that after this conversation, like any like ill intent he had toward Elhokar would have been satiated by these words of Dalinar and been like, okay, I think Elhokar is crap, but because of the respect I have for Dalinar and his treatment of me in general, like I'm going to do my duty. But so like that's I think what makes it really disappointing at the end of the section where he's just like, go ahead, Moash, kill him. I don't care.
Yeah.
Or not even I don't care. He's like, it is the right thing to do. You're right. Kill him.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to disagree necessarily. But he says, I've given you a position no Dark Eyes has ever held in this army. I let you into conferences with the king. I listened to you when you spoke. Don't make me regret that. And he tries to tell him, like, look, I know that the way stuff works between Light Eyes and Dark Eyes is not fair. That your eye color shouldn't matter. But it does. That is the way our society works. If you want to change that, don't go run around acting like an idiot. Show people through what you do that a Dark Eyes can lead just as well as a Light Eyes. That you can do better in this position than any Light Eyes I might have put there, even though a Dark Eyes has never had a position this high before. You show the world that, and that will change the world. Which, yeah, I mean, I tend to agree that could work. But at the same time, it's like, it's kind of like, yes, you guys are oppressed. Deal with it, which is kind of a shitty thing to say at the same time. But I mean, Dalinar can change the world only so much at a time.
Yeah, it's not a great situation. He's more just saying it's like if you try and change society the way you have already tried to do, you're just going to get yourself killed.
Yep.
And we don't want that.
Yeah, apparently breaking the law in like quote slandering a light eyes, something that we're told by Elokar has a death penalty. It's like that's not gonna change things for the better. That's just gonna end you up dead.
Yeah, you'll just be one more Dark Eyes killed for rebelling against the Light Eyes.
Yeah, and so Dalinar leaves, and Kaladin's just like, stay calm, do as you're told, stay in your cage. And Syl's like, hey, he's just trying to help. And Kaladin's like, you heard about Rashon? All of this is Rashon's fault. And Elokar is the one who sent him there. And then he thinks like the kingdom would be better off. Moash really was right. The kingdom would be better off without Elokar. Dalinar's trying his best, but he has this blind spot regarding his nephew and like how crappy a king he is. So somebody has to free his hands from the way that Elokar is tying them up. For the good of the kingdom, for the good of Dalinar, the king had to die. Some people, like a festering finger or a leg shattered beyond repair, just needed to be removed. Damn, that's dark. Although
it's back to the Rashon stuff,
because
he had to remove the legs of that one guy, had to let his son die, all that stuff.
It's true. It reminds me of there's a scene in Wise Man's Fear, the second King Killer book, where Kavoth has just killed a bunch of people, and this older lady is trying to like comfort him when he's like, how could I do something like that? And when she finds out what horrible people these were, she's like, some people need killing. I think we're supposed to have a different reaction to that than to this, but it's a very similar feeling. A Burning World is the next chapter, and the epigraph says, now look what you've made me say. You've always been able to bring about the most extreme in me, old friend. And I do still name you a friend for all that you weary me. So I guess the guy who's writing the letter back is, a friend of, if you guys are right, of Hoid/Wit/whatever. We start with Shallan, who is having a conversation via span read with Adolin. She says she's working on Sabarial's ledgers, but really she has created like an illusion on top of this roof that she's hiding behind and secretly watching a tree. And Aelin's like, hey, you want to come visit? It's getting really boring in here. And she's like, I'm sorry, I don't have time. I have to get this work done. And we know that the trees like move, they react to stuff. That's how they, don't get destroyed in high storms or whatever. So she's watching the tree. There's supposed to be instructions that somebody's going to hide inside, and she wants to see it happen. And if someone gets close, the leaves will like retract, and it'll be very visible so she can see. So that's what she's watching for. Adolin is using an Ardent because, of course, a good Alethi man cannot read or write. And Shallan's like, I mean, he made a point of saying that. Is he afraid I'll be jealous if he used like a woman scribe? He did seem surprised that she didn't get jealous. His eyes did wander, and she had to admit that wasn't great. But she thinks maybe I should cling more firmly. But that thought nauseated her. It reminded her of her father holding so tightly to everything that he eventually broke it all. And she's like, no, I can't be that person. So it's interesting to see the lessons that she's taken from her childhood. And they have some jokes about the Ardent. Yeah, I'm sure he has nothing better to do. He's already saved 3 souls this morning. He's tired of it.
Yeah, he wanted to come to my prison cell and hang out.
Felt bad for the Ardent.
Right?
Having to then write it.
Yeah. He's probably like, oh, God.
Maybe he's got a sense of humor. It's fine. She says, is your father feeling better? And he's like, yeah, he's been up and about since yesterday, looking as strong as ever. So Dalinar's been sick for a while. Maybe that explains why he didn't visit Kaladin for like a week after he was in prison, at least. And as they're talking, she starts thinking like it's been too long. Somebody should have placed those instructions by now. And she thinks, wait, they're watching. They're doing what I did. They're hiding somewhere to watch me pick up the instructions. And that's when she sends Pattern off to look for somebody else who's watching this way. Adolin writes, hey, good news. Father says that we're going to take some scouting missions in the next few days out onto the plains. And he said that you can come along on one of them. And she's like, oh, I only get to see like a dead harvested chrysalis. He's like, well, I guess it's better than not seeing one at all, right? And Pattern comes back to say, hey, you're right. One level down, she's watching. The one with the mask. Like, okay, well, what do I do now? And so she tells Adolin, hey, I got to go. And we saw her working out how to use her powers better. And she's innovated some even since then. She can now make an illusion that seems to move, that like walks. And so she attaches an image of herself as Veil to Pattern and is like, walk up to the tree or move up to the tree. It'll walk and stop and then turn around and leave. And he's so excited to be part of this lie that he's like, yeah. And then she's like, hey, slower. You got to do it like we practice because like Veil's movements are not matching the speed at which he's moving. So She hides outside of the room where the woman is watching. And when the woman sees Pattern as Vale go up, she leaves the door to follow. And Shallan's like, hey, yeah, what's up? What's your name? And her excuse is, so I said a double wearing my clothing. That's what you saw. Not some sort of magic illusion, of course. That would be ridiculous. So why are you following me? And they want to see if Vale accomplishes the mission. That's why she was following. And it turns out that they placed the instructions before they even sent her a message, so she would have no chance of catching them in the act. And then the woman says, Eatil. And Shallan's like, what? That's my name. Eatil, you asked? I've never heard one like it. And she's like, unsurprising. So anyway, you're supposed to go check out Dalinar's camp. We wish to know about a new arrival. Dalinar's allegiances are uncertain. And Shallan's like, he's loyal to the king and the throne. And the woman's like, well, outwardly. His brother knew things of an extraordinary nature. We are uncertain if Dalinar was told these things or not. And his interactions with Amaram worry us. So that's interesting. We know that the Ghostbloods don't love Amaram, so Dalinar is pretty buddy-buddy with him, has made him the new Knight Radiant leader, so you can see how that might look strange.
I wonder if there was ever any discussion among the Ghostbloods. It's like, hey, did you hear about this dark-eyed guy who, in front of the entire court, just accused Amaram of being a murderer? Should we talk to that guy?
Yeah, maybe that would be productive.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in jail now. Maybe they'll approach him after he gets out.
Also, don't they already know who he is?
Interesting question. I don't know.
Wasn't that who Moash was meeting up with?
No, not as far as we know. You guys theorize those might be the Ghostbloods, but
okay.
we don't know that for sure.
Fair enough.
So Shallan's like, okay, well, you want to go do this mission then? And Eatil's like, together? And she's like, well, I mean, you could sneak behind me if you want, or you can just come. And so they want Shallan to look into a madman in Dalinar's camp. And Eatil's like, Dalinar and the king Dalinar and the king are interested, so then are we. And so the madman arrived in the custody of a man named Borden, who turns out to be one of the most trusted footmen of Dalinar, who was left behind in Kholinar supposedly to keep an eye on the queen, maybe. That's what they suspect anyway. And Shallan says, your master knows more about this than he's telling me, and Eatil has to correct her. Oh, no, I'm his master, actually. And Shallan's like, she says, he's my student. And Shallan goes, in what? And Eatil just stares at her. Eatil asks her, are you the hunter or the quarry? And Shallan says, neither of those. And she goes, no, all are one or the other. And then comes the fun part where they have to get into Dalinar's camp. And Eatil's like, so how are you going to do it? With the assassins popping up all over the place, Dalinar has gotten, very, very cautious.
She's just going to be herself, kind of.
Yeah, right. Shallan pokes her head out and removes the illusion, and the guards guarding the camp know Shallan because she's engaged to the High Prince's son, so they let her through. And then she has to figure out a way to get her disguise back on without Eatil realizing what happened. So she has to have Pattern go make a noise at that other side of the palanquin and distract her. And Eatil sees them get straight through, and she's like, you bribed the guards ahead of time? I would know how you did this. Colin's men are difficult to bribe. And Shallan's just like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you would like to know, huh?
Especially since, as far as Eatil knows, Vale didn't know where she was going until after she met up with Eatil.
Right, she's just bribed every guard in every camp or something. It's ridiculous.
It's like, when did you do that? I was with you when you found out where we had to go.
That would be really impressive. It says they got to Dalinar's temple grounds, so I guess it's the temple where the Ardents hang out, to answer our earlier question.
Thank you.
And apparently today is a special day when anybody's allowed to come and ask the Ardents for some help of some kind. But the Ardents are very protective of their charges and have them locked away in the back. So this is going to be tricky. Once a month, all may come to the temple to ask questions or see a physician with no offering. So it'll be a busy day, easy for us to sneak in. And then she's like, but if you'd rather do it at night, perhaps I can persuade Mraize that the matter can wait. And Shallan's like, no, it's fine. And she seems to come up with a plan pretty quick, which she's good at thinking on her feet. She's developed that, it seems like. And Eatil's like, are you going to feign sickness? And Shallan's like, yeah, something like that. And when the Ardents come out, she's like, it's my sister. She's put a strange mask on and refuses to remove it. I think she's possessed by a Voidbringer.
And Eatil's just like, oh, God.
Yeah.
God damn it.
This brings up another point. I can't remember, I know we've talked about it several times, but I can't quite remember what timeline we're in as compared to Scadrial on this time plot. But obviously her wearing a mask is very reminiscent of the Northerners in Scadrial. So I'm trying to
the Southerners in Scadrial.
Southerners, excuse me. I'm trying to think how this if it fits in, if that's where she's from, but I don't know if time-wise it fits.
So Era 2 of Mistborn is shortly after this.
So yes, it's very possible that this fits.
They're supposed to, after the first 5 Stormlight books, there's supposed to be like an in-universe time break of a few years, maybe 10 years, 5 years, we're not certain, before the next 5 books. And I believe what we've heard is that Mistborn Era 2 takes place in that break.
Wow, so there's a distinct possibility that, based on what Brandon himself has said and the end of the Lost Metal, that the next era of Stormlight like could fit in with all of our characters from Scadrial and in Era 2 and Stormlight, folks. That's interesting.
Maybe. And I will mention, we talked about it when we first met the Ghost Bloods and stuff, but there was mention in the Lost Metal that we think might be applicable here, where one of the guys working with Kelsier is named Delavo, and he's a Southern Scadrian with a mask. And Twin Soul does not like him and thinks that, like his sister who ran amok on Roshar, he wore a mask that he never removed.
Yeah, so maybe that his sister could be Eotil then.
So yeah, I think that was a theory that we touched on the possibility of. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stormlight, part like the latter 5 books, Marasai is here to unfuck this planet.
It might be appreciated, honestly.
Yep.
Get somebody reasonable in here. Of course.
You need to organize the shit out of this place. Steris, you're with me.
The Alethi are apparently all very tall, so she wouldn't seem very intimidating on this planet, maybe. Eotil,
she might be intimidating with her boomstick.
Oh, that's true. They don't have like guns, huh? Yeah, that could make a big ass difference, right? Fair.
Marasai's just facing off against a chasm feed, and everyone's like, "Oh, bet you wish you had a shard blade now." Just pulls a gun out and blows its brains out.
Just pulls out her sniper rifle, and she's like, "What did you say? What blade? What?"
Or we even saw they have like a Gatling gun sort of thing in in Alloy of Law. So yeah, that could be. They also have like radios and stuff. Like there could be all sorts. Like the technology is very different in a lot of ways, especially since technology here seems to be mostly like fabrials, and it's so even like the base of the technology is very different.
Marasai walks in with a fucking Gatling gun, and Navani's like, "I'm gonna need to talk to you."
This is interesting. I want to see how that works. But back to I love that Eotil is just like, she's not happy about it, but she's just 100% on board and starts playing the role. It's like, should we kill them? No, we shouldn't. But someone will see. And the Ardents are like, oh, this is serious. All right. And so we cut to them a little bit later inside the monastery, a small monastery room. So I guess it's also a monastery. And Eotil keeps warning them, if they remove her mask, she's going to have to kill them. And Shallan thinks, that doesn't seem like part of the act. I should probably do this quickly.
She actually seems quite invested in that sentence. She's not just like yes, the Voidbringers are in me. Oh no. Touch my fucking mask!
I mean, maybe she's a great actress. We don't know. So Shallan kind of has Pattern go and find the guy they're looking for. And he does it pretty quickly. Actually, he had already done it, I guess I should say. Like, Shallan was sitting there drawing something, and he's like, oh yeah, while you were doing that, I went and looked around. There's a very interesting woman 4 doors down who appears to be rubbing excrement on the walls. I could not get a good look at what she was writing, but it seemed very interesting.
Past, will, and testament.
And so Shallan goes and has Pattern unlock the door, which 100% Pattern, most useful ever again. And there's a big guy in here, dark-skinned like a man from the Makabaki kingdoms, ragged hair and hulking arms. And he's just whispering, and we've heard like his thing that he says more or less before. And apparently he just says it over and over. So for the most part, we don't need to hear it because it's not new information. And Pattern says, why did they keep the room so dark? And Shallan says, yeah, modern theory for helping the mad suggests that light is overstimulates them and reduces the effectiveness of treatment. So they keep them in the dark, which that's kind of unpleasant actually. But and she's like, sir, hello? And she hears him say, the time of the return, the desolation is at hand. And she says, who are you? And he says, Talinel Alien, the one you call Stone Sinew. And for a second, she's kind of freaked out by just how like serious and matter of fact he sounds about this. And she says, Talenelot Elin is the name of one of the heralds. That's very similar. But I mean, Dalinar wouldn't have a herald locked up in the temple's back room. That doesn't make any sense. But he won't answer any of her questions. He just keeps saying his thing. And she even thinks like he couldn't really be one of the heralds, right? No, that's dumb. The heralds glow like the sun, wield the honor blades, and speak with the voices of 1,000 trumpets. So, all right. We've heard of the honor blades before. Apparently the heralds wield them while they glow like the sun. So she's like, ah, crap, I got to get back before they notice that I'm gone and come looking. And so she sucks in some stormlight to create an illusion, and the dude freaks out. One of Ishar's knights. I remember he founded them. Yes, several desolations ago. No longer just talk. It hasn't been talk for thousands of years. But when? And then he goes back into his crazies. And so she's going to leave, except some people are coming down the hall, and one of them is Amaram. So that's not good. And here we have chapter 64. The epigraph is, yes, I'm disappointed. Perpetually, as you put it. And I will bring up the original letter from the first book that we think this may be a reply to. The writer says, I realize that you're probably still angry. That is pleasant to know. Much as your perpetual health, I have come to rely upon your dissatisfaction with me. So that, I mean, he says, I'm disappointed perpetually. So it's not exactly the same, but it is kind of similar.
Sounds close enough, doesn't it?
Yeah. So we cut back to Kaladin, who's laying on his bench, eating his ignoring his afternoon bowl of steamed spiced talu. He feels like the predator in the cage at the menagerie, and he does not do well in captivity. And eventually he gets so like stir crazy in here, he decides he's going to go and try to get some of that stormlight that he talked about before from one of the lamps on the wall. But nothing happens when he tries to pull the stormlight in. And Syl says, I'm worried about you. You're growing dark. And he says, it'll be all right. I just need to get out of this cage. And she's like, no, it's worse than that. It's the darkness. And then she gets distracted by a little crumbling on the floor and goes to look at that. And then we cut back to Shallan. Amaram's coming. She has to hide. So she creates the illusion of darkness in a corner of the room so that she can hide that way. Because it's so dark in here already. It's hardly noticeable. And Amaram shows up with a guy in Kholin livery. And I love, she's thinking, why had Helleran gone to kill this man? And could she really blame Amaram when in truth he'd probably just been defending himself? Still a bastard, though. Of course.
Still don't like him.
Yeah. So can I blame him? I'm going to blame him, but it might not be justified, I'll admit. Apparently this is Borden, who he's talking to, who we just learned is the guy who brought him in the first place. And apparently a trusted footman of Dalinar's. And the guy's like, why did you have to come here for yourself? I told you what he said. And he's like, hey, shut up. Watch the door. Amaram says, great prince, let me see you. Ah, almighty above, 10 names, all true, you are beautiful. Gavilar, we have done it. We have finally done it. And Borden's like, dude, I don't like being here. If we're discovered, people might ask questions. The treasure. And Amaram says, he really talked about shard blades? Yes, a whole cache of them. The honor blades. Great prince, please give me the same words you spoke to this one. But he just keeps saying the same stuff over and over. And Borden's like, yeah, he says that all the time. He only talked about the blades once. We could wait here days and he might not say the same thing. Come on, we got to go. And Amaram's like, okay, well, great prince, I'm going to recover your treasures. Don't talk to them about anybody else. I'll put them to good use. And so he wants to go and find this secret place tonight or today. If there's a bunch of shard blades there, he wants them right now before the guy says anything to anybody else.
Really sounds like the quality that you're looking for in someone to go find these, doesn't it? The desperation to get his hands on them now.
Yeah. I mean, not like we loved Amaram regardless. So.
No, it's true. This is not helping his case though, but it's scary. The last thing we need him to have is a cache of honor blades.
Yep, not great. So after he's gone, Shallan makes it back to Eotil, and she's gonna leave her with the Ardents, and she's like, "You can get out of here." And Eotil's like, "Yeah, don't be stupid. Of course I can." And Shallan's like, "Okay, well here, I wrote down the ramblings of the madman. They repeat without change. I'll draw some pictures and send a full report via span read later, okay?" And Eotil's like, "Who are you really? You caught me in stealth, spying upon you. You can loose me in the streets. Neither of those is easy, and your clever drawings fascinate Mraize, another nearly impossible task, considering all he's seen." And Shallan's answer is, "I seek truth, wherever it may be, whoever it may hold it, that's who I am." And we end the chapter with, after she sent her report, Mraize writes back, "The truth destroys more people than it saves, Vale. But you have proven yourself. You no longer need fear our other members. You're required to get a specific tattoo, a symbol of your loyalty. I will send a drawing. Welcome to the Ghost Bloods." So Shallan is in.
Oh, she's in, like Laura Flynn. Boyle. Also, like, way to be dramatic, Shallan. Like, I seek the truth. Like, come on.
She could have said anything.
Yeah.
And, she had to
She
be
could have
super
been like,
dramatic.
I'm a scholar. I want to know, like, the world and all the things in it.
I feel like it's all part of the act. She's trying to pique their interest. We get one illustration here in between chapters of the metamorphosis of the Chull. So you start with the baby Chull, and then it like pupates and becomes an adult Chull, and then it pupates again and goes into senescence, where it doesn't do anything. So apparently, if you want to keep them in their useful adult form, you have to like add shale bark oil to their drinking water before a storm.
Is that what they were talking about? I did not understand what that drawing was trying to convey.
Yep. And also, sheltering your livestock during a high storm remains the most proven method of keeping your chulls from pupating. So that is interesting to me because apparently there's something about the high storm that makes them pupate.
What other creature in this world do we know changes during a high storm?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's an interesting. I don't know. Are they related to chulls in some way? They're all crabs, right? Some form.
They grow chitinous armor on their bodies in warrior form, so you never know, man.
It's true. Chapter 65, The One Who Deserves It. We're flashing back for Shallan again. Shallan is reading something written by Yasna about what is a woman's place in this modern world. Yasna doesn't even like the question because there's an inherent bias to the question that there has to be a special place for a woman as opposed to just whatever a woman wants to do.
She's got a point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like how she's like, some women want to be a wife, some want to be a scholar, some want to be both, some want to be neither. Like, we need to change our mindset. Any of that is okay, or none of it. A woman's strength should not be in her role, whatever she chooses it to be, but in the power to choose that role. It amazes me that I even have to make this point, as I see it as the very foundation of our conversation. So yeah, I can see how in this society where the roles are very much like written in stone to the point that only one gender is even allowed to read, I can see how this might be like an unusual perspective. And so we're 2 hours after the last time we saw her, 2 hours since her father ordered Halaran's assassination. And she thinks she doesn't even know if her stepmother is still alive after all the screaming and how angry her father was. And she thinks about like High Lady Colin. She was a capable woman. She'd never let something like this happen. What would that be like? And she tells the guards, father will need me. And she goes to talk to her dad. And her dad's like, they won't listen, Shallan. Nobody will listen. I hate that I have to fight my own house. Wickham just stares at the wall half the time. Jushu is worthless and Balat fights me every step. Now Malise too? And Shallan says, I will speak to them. And he's like, yes, that would be good. Balat is still with those cursed Axehound corpses.
Doesn't matter how many people I beat up and how many animals I kill, people just won't listen to me. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, who would have thought?
It's you, man. You're the problem. It's you.
Why is everybody else always the problem?
My life is meaningless and it's everyone else's fault but mine.
I guess Dak, you weren't here. You weren't here for the part where Shallan mentions that like Balat is making progress in his his need to hurt things. She's like he rarely ever hurts anything bigger than a crumbling at this point. And she even had him like get these puppies as to like work on his caring and stuff for smaller creatures than him. So
I guess that's something.
It's nice that he's trying to make progress with his demons, and then his father murdered all of the puppies. So
yep, I can see how that would be
It's a real bummer.
Shit not great in our household.
He doesn't even like take a step. He didn't even like step back from that at all. He's just like, I'm glad they're dead. They were a litter of runts. He didn't need them anyway. Like, dude. And so she goes out there, and Balat is still outside. The sun has already gone down, and as she walks up, her feet crunch on some stuff. And it's like, claws from crumblings that he's pulled free of their bodies and tossed on the ground. Ugh. And so she tells Balat, you're right. You should go. You need to leave while you can. I want you to take Malise with you too. And she tells him like father ordered one of his men to kill Halaran today. And Balat's like, what? That bastard. I'm not going to do anything. Never mind. I'm a coward. I won't face him. And she says, well, go to Halaran, take Malise, take Aelita, go to him, and he can protect you from father. We'll set up a plan. Father's going to be away soon. And while he's gone, you guys get a head start and get away. I'll draft a letter to Halaran for you. And Balat says, you shouldn't have to do this, small one. I'm the eldest after Halar, and I should be able to stop father somehow. She's like, no, just take Melise away. That'll be enough. And so then she goes to talk to Melise. And the guard's like, no, he left orders, nobody in or out. And she's like, no, I talked to him. He wants me to talk to her. Which, to be fair, is completely true. He was like, yeah, you go talk to them.
Yeah, which is, I'm not sure why she's nervous at that point. Because she's like nervous, and then he goes downstairs to check. It's like, you told your dad you were going to do that.
Yeah, right. Because, yeah, he sends another guard down to check, and the guard comes back and says, yeah. And she's like, okay, there you go. But I think maybe she's nervous because this is that room that she hasn't entered in years, not since, and she can't even think about what it was.
Yeah.
And she goes to talk to Melise. Melise oversaw Shallan's education, meaning she searched for new tutors each time the woman fled. But Melise herself couldn't do much to teach Shallan. One cannot teach what one did not know. And her arm is broken, and her lip is split. And Melise is just like, why doesn't he hate you? He hates everyone but you. Why did I come to this household? He'll kill us all one by one. There's a darkness behind his eyes, a beast. And Shallan's like, yeah, you're going to leave. And Melise says, no, he'll never let me go. He never lets go of anything. And she's like, no, you're not going to ask. You're going to run off with my brother, the Shardbearer. He'll protect both of you. And she's like, even if we could get away, why would Halaran take us in? We have nothing. And Shallan says, because he is a good man. And Melise says, if I go and Balat with me, who will he hate? Who will he hit? Maybe you finally, the one who actually deserves it? And Shallan says, maybe. And then she left. Which, yeah, that's just like deeply fucked up and sad. Chapter 66. Is not the destruction we have wrought enough? The worlds you now tread bear the touch and design of Adonalsium. Our interference so far has brought nothing but pain. So that's an interesting note. And I was going to bring in a word of Brandon here, which started with a discussion on the map of Roshar. Someone says, does the map of Roshar look like a storm to anyone else? So if you go and look at the map, it kind of has a hurricane look to it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And Brandon says, I was searching for something that at once felt organic but would hint at a pattern. Fractals and mathematical functions became my go-to place to hunt. I like to blend structure and spontaneity. The slice of the Julia set was the one that stuck with me as feeling perfect for Roshar. So if you look that up, you can see what that's talking about. But he says, as the continent was specifically grown by Adonalsium, you now know the seed that was used in world to create it. And so someone's like, wait. The continent was grown specifically by Adonalsium? And he goes, yeah, Roshar predates the Shattering. I haven't spoken of this before.
Whoa.
Interesting.
And so apparently the world of Roshar was specifically created by Adonalsium. And he says there's actually many things that are unique about it, but it wasn't the only world created in this way.
That's crazy.
So when the letter here says the worlds plural, you now tread bear the touch and design of Adonalsium, that's what it's talking about. And so, yes, interesting. One has to think that maybe if it was specifically designed by God, there was some purpose to it. But maybe we will see. So Kaladin's still in jail. And here's where somebody comes to let him out. And the guy's like, King signed your pardon today. They didn't even strip you of your rank or position. Guess you're lucky. And Kaladin's like, lucky. People always say that about me. But he's like wary that something else is going on here. He's like, can I really leave? Or somebody's out here just waiting to like take me to be executed? And the guard's like, distrustful, aren't you? I guess that makes you a good bodyguard. And as he starts walking out, he instantly starts feeling better. Like as he walks further and further from that cell, it's like he's not a slave, he's a soldier, Captain Kaladin. He'd survived these 2 or 3 weeks in a cage, but one thing had changed. He was never going back. He would never let anyone do this to him again. And then the jailer stops at another cell and is like, Your Highness, can we finally be done with this farce? And Kaladin's like, wait, what? And it turns out Adolin is in the other cell, as we talked about. And Kaladin's like, he locked you up? Like, the king put Dalinar's heir in here? And the jailer's like, the king didn't have anything to do with it. Right Lord Adolin came in and was like, as long as Kaladin's here, I'm not leaving. And we tried to stop him, but he's a prince. We can't make him do anything, not even leave. I love that. A guy comes into jail and is just like, I'm staying here. And they can't gainsay it in any way.
Like, what? You heard me.
This is not a hotel,
a
sir.
Perfectly good cell they could put someone else in.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like the jail's that full, but who
No.
knows? But Adolin, he's had some baths, and he's even wearing cologne. And so Kaladin, while impressed that Adolin would do something like this, is at the same time like, dude, really? And Adolin says, it didn't seem right, you in here. And Kaladin says, but I ruined your chance to duel Sadeas. And Adolin's like, well, I'd be crippled or dead without you, so I wouldn't have gotten to do it anyway. Also, you saved my brother. And Kaladin's like, well, that's my job. And he's like, well, if that's your job, then we need to pay you more. Because that's ridiculous. And like after he spots the cologne, Kaladin's like, you are so spoiled. I'm refined, you insolent farmer. And they're both grinning about it. Besides, I had to use cold water for my baths in here.
Oh, God, not cold water.
And you had water?
I love that Kaladin, maybe for the first time since it happened, like takes some responsibility for what happened. And he goes, I'm sorry for ruining the plan. Which he has absolutely not for a moment acknowledged that he might have been wrong before now.
Yeah, and it's, like I think it's just interesting that he does it. Like, he's spoken to Dalinar twice, and this is the first time he's spoken to Adolin, but he hasn't acknowledged it with Dalinar. He acknowledges it with Adolin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and to Adolin's credit, like Adolin's like, nah, don't worry about it. It was Elhokar's fault, really.
Yeah, and I don't know that we'd considered that before, but Adolin's just like, Elhokar's the one who ruined it. He could have just ignored what you said and let me go on with the challenge. Instead, he threw a tantrum.
Fair point.
Yeah.
My cousin's the worst, right? I guess he's kind of my stepbrother now. That's a whole thing I don't want to talk about. Anyway.
Just a little bit, but yeah.
Stupid cousin bro.
I hate those cousin brothers. This is where he goes, those things you said about Amaram, were they true? And Kaladin's like, everyone. And Adolin's like, man, I always wondered what he was hiding. Like, my dad's the best guy I know, and even he, like, messes up sometimes. Amaram, like, acts like his shit don't stink, and it just, I knew there must be something there. And Aelin has to tell him, it's like, dueling is formalized in a way that you probably don't get. Like, a Dark Eyes can't do what you did. But that shouldn't matter after today. And they walk out into the entrance area or whatever, and where there's some tables laid out, and Kaladin's like, why are so many people in here? Like, are those Adolin's armorers? And what's that stuff draped with sheets? And so Adolin says that he's got 2 new blades and 3 sets of plate. I've also been named dueling champion. Relis was on the caravan back to Alethkar the night after our duel, his father attempting to hide the shame of being beaten so soundly.
I would love it more if it's like, I know he actually just tried to run back to Alethkar because it's something about screaming that he could hear.
That would have been great, actually.
He's just still running.
And so he's going to distribute most of the shards to the appropriate people in his father's army, but 1 set has been reserved for Kaladin. He's like, I'm curious if the stories are true, if a Dark Eyes bonding a shard blade will change his eye color. And here is a whole set of shards. It's the plate that was painted orange, and Kaladin's like, it says he immediately felt sick, almost cripplingly so. And he says, so these are mine, and I can do what I want with them? And Adolin says, yep, take them. They're yours. And Kaladin says, not anymore. Moash, they're yours. And everyone's like, what the? Like, Moash goes white, and everyone starts talking, and Adolin's like, wait. Nobody do anything. And he pulls Kaladin into the hall. He's like, dude, what the hell? I'm giving you a shard blade and shard plate. And Kaladin's like, yeah, thanks. Moash is going to use them well. He's been training with Zahel. And he's like, what is wrong with you? This is the dream of every soldier. Is this out of spite? And Kaladin says, no, those blades have killed too many people I love. I can't look at them, can't touch them without seeing blood. He's like, but if you do this, you could challenge Amaram. You would immediately, like, even if you didn't become Light-Eyed, go up, you'd count as Light Eyes. You'd become 4th Dawn. And he says, I don't want my life to change because I become a Light Eyes. I want the lives of people like me, like I am now, to change. And Adolin's like, you know, you're crazy, right? And Kaladin's like, yeah, okay, I'll take that. And Adolin says, fine. Moash, was it? Shards are yours. Congrats. You now outrank 90% of Alethkar. Pick yourself a family name and ask to join one of the houses under Dalinar's banner, or start your own if you want. I don't care. I can't imagine this. Choosing Moash for this. That's a thing. That's a choice that you made right there.
Teft was there.
And Kaladin's he finds out that Rock has been cooking a stew the whole time he was in prison. It is celebratory stew, must simmer for a long time. And Kaladin takes Teft off to the side, like, how'd they take my imprisonment? And Teft's like, they talked about breaking you out, but I beat some sense into them. Ain't no good soldier hasn't spent a day or two locked up. It's part of the job. There's a lot of anger about this Amaram fellow, though, a lot of interest. And he's like, okay, yeah, you go back to the barracks. I'll be there in a minute. I need to talk to Moash for a second. And Moash is like, I'm worth more than some kingdoms now. And Callan's like, yeah, I wouldn't sell them to a foreigner. That's considered treason. But then he comes to his real decision. He's like, I've had some time to think, and your friends are right. Tell them I agree with their plan. I'll help them accomplish their task. And Moash is like, ha, I told them you'd see. And Moash is not interested in heading for the party. He's going to try out his new shards.
On Elika?
Maybe. Everybody else, however, goes off to join the party, and that's the end of our chapters. So let's move into predicaments, y'all. A lot of interesting things happened here. Shallan became an official ghost blood under her Veil pseudonym. Moash became a shard bearer. Kaladin is now on board with Regicide, it sounds like. So, yeah, a lot of interesting things. Where are we going? What is going to happen from here on out? Oh, and I guess I can tell you guys the next couple chapter names since we've been doing that. We're only reading 2 chapters for next time. Chapter 67 is called Spit and Bile. Chapter 68 is called Bridges.
No idea. Spit and bile doesn't sound, particularly pleasant.
No, not really.
So, yeah, I don't know. Bridges, maybe it's got to do with literal bridges that they're going to cart around. Maybe it's like mending bridges between people. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Thoughts. Okay, my biggest thought out of this week is I really don't want to believe that Kaladin is on board with Moash's plans and the Ghost Bloods, or potentially the Ghost Bloods, to assassinate the king. My hope is that he made some choices around he had to make that decision pretty well on the fly, right? So it's not like he went into it having given it a great deal of thought, but maybe that this would distract Moash long enough that he was able to look into some more things. I know he made his decision about what has to happen with Elika while he was in that cell and that darkness was consuming him, and then to walk away from that, and we've had this whole thing about the darkness is not consuming me. I'm feeling a lot better, walking away. I'm free. I'm a soldier, to then instantly go back to that. I can't see that will sit well with even in a couple of hours time. Kaladin, I don't know, it doesn't ring right. We've either got there is something actually happening to Kaladin, which is what Syl is sensing. It's not about being, depressed in your cell, but there is something happening to him, or he has a plan. And I'd really like to think he has a plan. What that plan would look like, I have zero clue. But if he is going to, be loyal to Dalinar and Adolin, and by extension Elika as well, and give the position of king respect, even though he doesn't respect the man, I guess the best way to know about the plot is to get close to the plot. So if he's in and Moash is in and they don't have any reason to suspect why he wouldn't be on board, that's probably a good way to foil a plot. But yeah, so I'm going to jump on board the Kaladin is not actually on board train with that. And that's more I'm hopeful than I have any evidence for that, realistically. Shallan and the Ghost Bloods having to get a tattoo of that now. It's going to be a difficult one to explain later once she's got a tattoo, I guess.
I mean, she can create really realistic illusions. Maybe she could fake the tattoo.
Maybe she could. Maybe she could fake, like, covering up the tattoo when she needed to, I guess. Now that Syl is aware of Patton, unless it's a different cryptic, that was another thought that I had as well. We assume that it's Patton that she's talking about, but she did definitely say, he's looking, or this sprint is looking for someone to bond with. So maybe there's another one, which would be interesting as well. But if it was Patton there, maybe Syl will be on the lookout a little bit more than she has been, and see the signs in Shallan. Or maybe even Kaladin will spot the signs and going, if there's someone else here, we need to know sort of who that is. So I'm really hopeful that they will find each other soon. If the people who are going to assassinate Elhokar are the Ghostbloods in some form, that's a reality now. Because could you imagine they find each other in that forum as well? Be like, oh God, why are you here? You're here with everything I do. What is happening? So that would be interesting to see it play out, and I don't know where they'd go from there realistically. But yeah, more thoughts going around than anything. You raised at the beginning of the episode of the recording data that I was thinking about the time frame. You know, we've had Kaladin in prison for 3 weeks now, so that's quite a significant chunk out of our timeline for whatever we think is going to go down. We're definitely gearing up towards this. Was it the lull or the weeping? And all signs seem to be pointing to that being when whatever is coming is coming. So that would be, yeah, a little bit stressful to see coming as well. Did we, and refresh my memory, did we have confirmation that it was Dalinar writing the messages?
Dalinar said that he thought it was obvious that it was him, and it was his knife that was used, that he was like wearing. But I mean, we haven't like seen him do it or anything to get like that sort of direct confirmation.
No. Okay. That's all right. Yeah, because trying to figure out who else would be sneaking in to do that, it just doesn't seem to make sense. Anyway, I don't know why I was bringing that up because that's where we're getting to in the book. But I think we're getting there now. I think the flashbacks of Shallan's, our time frame there is getting significantly shorter as well. I think that she's talking about in the coming months, her father leaving, and then having Balat and Malise leave at the same time. I think that would probably not go so well in practice, and perhaps that's what draws us to the point where she ends up killing her father. You know, Balat didn't, or if he did leave, he's come back. So whatever's happened in that time, and then Shallan has left on her voyage to go and find Yasna, and then spend time with Yasna. So we've got to be getting really close. If that's a month away, or realistically going to happen sooner, maybe the father will find out that they're planning to leave, which would be terrible. Yeah, obviously, I like it's building up to that situation is not going to go well, but I think we're going to find out pretty quickly what happened there, especially with two flashbacks that are literally hours apart. We've got to be getting pretty close now.
Yeah, right. I hadn't thought about that. They're tightening up, so that might be an indicator. Yeah. I love the thought that there could be another cryptic out there, which really just raises, like Syl has said in this very section, like, you might not be alone soon, Kaladin. They're the Sprenner looking. I've seen the signs. There could be more like you, and we know from like the interludes that more people with powers are popping up around the world, right? So
yep,
it's possible there could be some popping up on the Shattered Plains that we just don't know yet. So maybe we should be on the lookout. Is anyone else acting weird? Maybe somebody else who is not a perspective character has attracted a Spren, and we might not know it yet, but there could be someone else who's going to pop out of the woodwork. Who that could be? We have seen a hint. I don't know if you guys remember about one other person who the cryptics may have taken an interest in.
I do not remember.
Ring any bells for anybody?
In the first book, when Elhokar and Dalinar and Sadeas were all talking, and Elhokar talks about seeing the cryptics.
Yeah, he says that he sees them in mirrors, heads all made of lines or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
So there's a hint about someone who could possibly become another light weaver from a cryptic. Although that would be weird if Elhokar just popped out with powers one day. Maybe the assassin in white will show up and he'll just be like, "Ha, eat illusion."
And could you imagine how Kaladin would feel?
Oh, he would hate it.
You thought Adolin being the person. Oh God, that would suck. No. This would be way worse for you.
Would still be more on board with that. It's like, oh, he's a Radiant, but he's using a cryptic. Does that make it okay? Maybe.
At least Elhokar would be bad for Kaladin, but not as bad as Amaram. Like, that would be just.
Yeah.
It'd be like, if Amaram's a member of this club, I'm out.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Well, he's already the head of the new Knights Radiant.
That's true.
Apparently.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, a new Radiant shows up. Who is it? I don't know, some petty light-eyed lord, and then fucking Rashone comes back out of nowhere.
Oh man.
With one leg.
The Spren takes the form of his leg or something.
Artificial leg spren, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we were told in the Lift chapter that most people cannot interact or particularly touch the Spren physically. Apparently, Lift is an exception to that, so that might not work.
Yeah.
Unless Rashone is also exception. Let's not go down this rabbit hole. So, 2 predictions. One of them, I think Kaladin will eventually find out he is like he doesn't believe in killing Elhokar as much as he thinks he does in this moment, but it's not going to come out until he's actually put in a position to do it. I think the tipping point will be Syl, who's basically his conscience is Jiminy Cricket at this point.
Mm.
I'm actually envisioning, this might be completely wild and impossible, but it's a cool image. Like Kaladin and Moash have Elhokar cornered. Moash has his shard blade out, and then Syl just gets between them and says, "Nah, you gotta kill him. You gotta kill me." Because could a shard blade kill a Spren? Maybe.
I don't think we have any idea.
Yeah.
If
So
anything
maybe
could kill a Spren, honestly.
So it's like, yeah, in order to kill Elhokar with the shard blade, Moash has to go through Syl to do it, and Kaladin will be like, "Nah, we can't do this."
I don't think Kaladin would let that happen. You're probably right.
Yeah, that was just a cool image in my head. But yeah, it's whether or not that is the case, but at some other point, Kaladin will find he actually can't do it as much as he thinks he can. He'll actually, when it comes down to it in the moment, no, he can't. So that's that one. The other one is kind of a loose one about something that happened in the past. I'm wondering if Amaram set Gavilar up to be killed.
Oh.
Because Amaram wants the Voidbringers back, so he's got to be pushing the Parshendi into doing things. I wonder if he wanted everything to come down here. We already knew there were camps at the Shattered Plains, because Dalinar says in this chapter that's where Gavilar was when Elhokar put Moash's folks in jail. So Gavilar was already down at the Shattered Plains. Maybe Amaram wanted everyone down there so they could try and find the Honor Blades. When he visits town, he does the whole Gavilar, we've done it. So okay, Gavilar and Amaram were looking for the Honor Blades together, I guess. But I think Amaram's purpose was different because he wants to bring back the Voidbringers. Does he want to arm them with the Honor Blades just to bring ruin to the planet? And the Ghost Bloods have realized that's what he's about, and because that's got to have something to do with Odium, like the Ghost Bloods, I think they're opposed to negative shard influence. They're trying to stop him. When Gavilar died, we saw that he mentioned Thydakar, who I believe you said is the Ghost Bloods ringleader on this planet. So, yeah, I think I'm wondering if Amaram is actually behind this whole war.
Interesting possibility.
Yeah, like he's just pushed things as much as possible to get everyone down here to find the Honor Blades so he can take them, and he can arrange for the Voidbringers to come back and then just let the chaos go.
We've wondered what Amaram's goal is for a while now. Like, what are you trying to do? Even when we found out, like, he's trying to bring the Voidbringers back, it's like, okay, but why? Like, what is the ultimate? If it's just really like, I want to burn the world down, that would be hardcore for sure.
Yeah, maybe he is the avatar of Odium on this planet, and he's trying to make this shit happen. That's the reason I think the Ghost Bloods would oppose it.
Okay. I guess we don't really know what the Ghost Bloods are after exactly either, so...
Yeah, this is just assuming that it's still Kelsier's outfit, and he's very much an anti-shard.
He does like punching gods in the face. We know that.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. That would... Yeah, okay. That just... We already don't like Amaram. That would bring it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So yeah, for these chapters, Spit and Bile, I don't know... I don't know what that means per se. It doesn't sound happy. It sounds pretty negative. So emotions, actual spit and bile, that seems less likely to me. I don't know that people would be spitting and throwing up, but I guess they could. But spit and bile doesn't sound happy. Probably some bad things going on. And bridges, I mean, it could reference a lot of things. Bridge 4, building bridges between peoples, using the physical bridges. That could be a lot of things. It could be them going out onto the Shattered Plains and they need bridges to cross the chasms. So they could be taking those bridges because, they are going to be doing those expeditions out onto the Shattered Plains and getting ready to, hit the Parshendi. So
and you do need bridges for that. So, yeah.
Yep. Got to have bridges for that. So could be for that. As far as where we're going overall, let me think. I mean, Amaram's obviously up to something. I think we've all said that at this point. What he's up to, he's obviously, we found out today, he's after some honor blades, I guess. Also, he has a shard blade, so I don't know why he needs the other blades. I guess because the honor blades, I don't know. I don't know why he needs them. We've got this Borden guy. I guess he just wants a little bit of power too, because apparently he's a trusted Dalinar guy, but he's now hanging out with Amaram and being like, let's go get this treasure.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's obvious that people who have shard blades are very important in this society. They can automatically have their own house. And so I get it. Like, you're a footman and somebody's like, you want a shard blade? He's like, yeah.
Yeah, who wouldn't, right?
Yeah. So, like, I totally get it. But I that side of the fence, I don't know what's going on. It is really, like I said before, it's disappointing what Kaladin has done. I really think he must want Moash to go through with it, because I feel like giving him the shard blade and shard plate doesn't really make sense if he doesn't want Moash to do it. Because, like, why would you give Moash that?
Yeah, you didn't have to do that just to agree with his plan.
Right. Like Dax said, could have given it to Teft. Like, I don't know why. Like, it just doesn't seem like a good move unless you're actually all on board. Now, maybe he does end up having second thoughts. Maybe that's the case later on. But as of now, like, yeah, it doesn't seem great. And so I'm really not sure, like, if he was serious about it or not. I don't see a way that makes sense for him to do what he did, give him the plate, and him, like, have a plan around Elhokar being assassinated. Because he could have given Moash the plate and not said, like, oh, by the way, I agree, go ahead and take out Elhokar. Like, he could have just given him the plate and not said that, right? But, like, by opening up, by his commanding officer Kaladin opening up that avenue to him, being like, yeah, you know what, I agree with you now, go ahead. Like, that's unless you're setting up Moash to be put in prison, which, if that was the case, you shouldn't give him the shard blade and the plate.
Nope.
What's the point there? So the Shallan stuff, she's gonna have to get some kind of tattoo. Luckily, she has, a way of making it look like she has a tattoo, even though she doesn't have a tattoo, with her powers. So that's something that she could circumvent if she doesn't actually want to be tattooed, which, I don't think she does. But at the same time, if she's joining this organization and hanging around a lot more, she's going to have to be in disguise a lot more as well. So I don't really know. It seems like she's been kind of flying by the seat of her pants for a while, so she's just going to have to continue to do so. I'm not sure what her overall plan and goal is. I guess to find out the truth, like she said. But anyway, and that's really all I got this week.
Yeah, it's interesting you point that out, because, like, Shallan has been playing the Ghost Bloods, at least that's what she thinks, to try to, like, find information, which I guess is get the truth. That's what she claims she wants. I guess that's true. But she doesn't have, like, a fleshed out, like, plan for what she's trying to accomplish. She's just kind of, like, playing it as she goes.
Right. Yeah, that's dangerous. Yeah, it's pretty dangerous. So
I will also, one of the things you said reminded me of one thing that might support one of the ideas that so according to Borden, the crazy guy said that there's a cache of blades around here. That's why he came out here, because he says that's why I brought him out here, because this treasure of blades is supposed to be out here. And Amaram's like, oh, it must be the honor blades. So Amaram either thinks that this guy would know where the honor blades are, or already thought the honor blades were around here, and so this is just confirmation of that. Yeah. So
yeah,
a possible
might be
support,
what he was looking for all along,
could
with the
be
maps and stuff.
Yeah. A possible support for that is we go back to earlier in this book. Eshonai has seen someone, or her men have seen someone using Stormlight because they saw Kaladin when he saved Dalinar and his people. And they're like, if surge bindings are back, then, what does that mean? And Eshonai's like, well, we don't know that that's the case. Maybe men don't have surge bindings. It could have been one of the honor blades. We left one in Alethkar that night. So that makes it sound like they have access to honor blades, at least to one of them, because she says we left one in Alethkar.
Right. I guess that's true.
So just a possible support for that. Maybe it doesn't mean that exactly, but it kind of goes along those same lines.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, pretty straightforward. A lot of the thoughts that you had, but it makes sense to me. Some of the lines that you were thinking across there. So I'm not going to call anything else out specifically, I guess. So yeah, that's what we have for today. We have several emails, but we are running real close. We have a hard cut today that we have to hit, and we are just about there. So we don't have time for the emails today, folks. If you emailed us, we will get to them soon. I promise.
Where can they send us an email, Data?
Yeah, if you'd like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. You can find us on X and Instagram and Threads now. And I only made a couple of posts on Blue Sky, but we're on Blue Sky also.
I don't even know what Blue Sky is. The kids have gotten away from me. I'm up
too
old.
It basically looks exactly like Twitter. It's even got like a light blue animal logo, except it's a butterfly instead of the bird. But it's like Twitter is gone, so here is a replacement for Twitter that is not owned by Elon Musk, I guess is the point.
Gotcha.
It got real popular, or got a lot of new users a couple months ago when I think it was Brazil banned X, and so all of these Brazilians migrated over to Blue Sky, like 1 million people or something. That's when I heard about it, when it was just like, oh, this has suddenly gotten real big, and I was like, oh, you know what? Fine, we'll get a profile on there too. So I've used that a little bit so far, not much, and kind of the same with Threads. Used it a little bit. So check us out on all of those platforms, or on Patreon, where I am posting my reactions to the preview chapters of Wind and Truth. I also recently posted, because I'm going to be gone, or by the time you hear this, I am back. But when we recorded this, I'm just about to leave, and so to cover time while I was gone, where I didn't have a new episode, I put what I called the cutting room floor, which is all of the cut portions of an episode that we recorded. And it's kind of silly and ridiculous. And there were some fun comments. One person says, this is like a weird fever dream version of an episode. And someone else said, oh yeah, the Gen Z cut. So check out our Patreon if you want to see ridiculous things like that. It's the Sanderlanche podcast on Patreon. You can find it easily enough. But thank you to all of our patrons, to all of the people out there using the Discord, sending us emails, engaging on social media, or to those of you out there who just show up and listen every week. We appreciate you. You're all awesome. Thank you so much. Remember, we're doing just 2 chapters for next time. They're a couple of longer chapters, 67 and 68. So if you're reading along, that's what you read for next time. Music by Miracle of Sound, and Wuzzing to the Time of Next. Colo, P.S. Vasher. Crabs ahoy!
You forgot your name. Don't let your spirit fade away. Amnesia, you've been through such pain, but you're growing stronger every day. Amnesia.